All right, hello, and welcome to the 20th episode of the Real Serious Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hunter, along with Charles. But today, very special guest, Mr. Jack Hester. Hello. Starting with Jack, how are you, man?
Hello, the Real Serious Pod. I am stoked to be here for
No,
everyone
we're glad
listening.
to finally made the time to have you, man. And for a good
Yeah,
review.
I feel like
it's been a long time coming.
should we introduce Jack, how we know him? That Jack's a huge
Yeah,
movie
why don't you
connoisseur.
go ahead, Charles?
I should introduce him, or should we have Jack
Yeah,
introduce
introduce.
himself?
No, you can introduce. Yeah, Jack, introduce yourself. Let people know who you
I
are.
mean, sure. My name's Jack Hester, and I love movies. I'm on Instagram at Jack in the Box Office. Um, I mean,
Plug.
I've known Charles and Hunter for I don't know about 2, 3 years now, probably 2 years, 2 years. But playing Dungeons and Dragons with these guys is pretty entertaining. So um, when I heard they were making a podcast, I was like, I need to be on this thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm happy to be
we're glad
here.
to have you, man. Yeah. So Chuck, how are you, man? How
I'm
was? I guess you already kind of told us off, but how was the Indy 500?
Indy 500 was awesome. A lot of fun, first time going, and I got a little commemorative pin, 2024
Oh
pin. Threw it
yeah,
on my hat, so now I have 5 pins on my hat. Some national parks. I went to like the Rocky Stadium last summer in Denver, so I got a pin there, and now Indy 500 is my fifth pin, but it was a lot of fun. And before that, last week, I was doing absolutely nothing at my parents' house, and I watched so many movies. I think I watched 10 movies.
I have a
Nine,
lot. I have a lot as
nine
well to
movies.
talk
I
about.
watched 9 movies.
All
Um,
right, so why don't you start us off on what you've been watching, and then we'll go to our guest Jack, and I'll round us out.
okay. So I watched. I told you guys, everyone last week, that I ended on Top Gun, but I was about halfway through Social Network. And so I finished Social Network, gave it 4.5. Really liked that. Then I watched Goodwill Hunting, and it was my first time watching it, and it has cracked my top four on Letterboxd. So if you look at my account, we've got an update. It's my second favorite movie now, and I gave it 5 stars. Um, I watched
It's like a
Hacksaw.
national holiday when you like change the top four.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always, I always like have to really think about if I should do this before I do it.
yeah. I loved Goodwill Hunting. I texted my friend Greg from home, and that's his favorite movie. I was like, dude, I finally watched it. He was like, you're kidding. Like, did you like it? And I just thought it was beautiful. And I kind of teared up. I had never really seen. I don't know if I've ever seen Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in like that serious of a role, or like when they're young, maybe. And I thought it was
Yeah,
super cool. And they collaborated on the script, right? Like that's their story,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
They
So
won. They won an Oscar for it. So
really,
yeah,
They brought their moms. I saw to the Oscars that year.
yeah, it's a
mm,
really cool video.
I'll have to watch that. But yeah, loved that. I watched Hacksaw Ridge, gave it 4 stars. Ocean's 11, the 2001 version. My mom asked me, she was like, "You watching the old one or the new one?" And I was like, "The old one." And she's like, "Oh, so the 19 something?" And I was like, "Ah, the new one." And I think it kind of bummed
One
her
of
out.
my top four, Ocean's 11. My number two, actually.
Oh, really? What's your number one?
Yeah, La La Land.
Oh, I thought you meant like all the Ocean's
No, I'm at
11
my four
movies.
favorites. On my four favorites, Ocean's 11 is my number two.
Oh, very nice. I gave it 4.5. Yeah. Um, and then I watched The Idea of You, the new one in 2024. I was kind of thinking like I'm kind of inflating my letterbox right now, like all these 4 and 4.5 and 5 stars. I was like, I should watch something that might bring it down. Gave that 1.5. I did not like that at all. Um,
Not good.
I think it's bottom three on the year,
Mm.
right over there by Argyle and Madam Web. But then I watched Inception, first Christopher Nolan movie besides the Dark Knight trilogy. I gave that 4.5. Watched The Sandlot with Jenna. I think Jenna, we both gave it 3.5. I think all time classic. And then I watched the first two Star Wars movies, the prequels. Sorry, I'm like rambling. I'll wrap it up. I gave Phantom Menace 3, Attack of the Clones 1.5, and then I watched Top Gun Maverick, and I gave that 4. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. I think I like the first Top Gun more.
I'd hard disagree.
That's a hot take. That's
That's
a
a hot
really hot
take?
take.
I think
Okay, that's fair.
Top Gun Maverick is, I think, in my top 5 movies ever.
It rocks, man.
Really? No,
I
I
have
really
seen
liked
it.
it.
So good.
I really
Like,
liked
it's
it.
so good.
But I also really, really liked the first one.
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick is number 4 for me. It's on my
Wow.
Letterboxd 4.
Shoot. So maybe this is the wrong crowd to
No, hey,
to disclose
once
that.
again, you're allowed whatever opinion you want, even
I
if it's
thought it was
wrong.
really good, and I can't really put into words why I liked the first one more. I just think I was like more into it.
Fine.
The
Hey,
intangibles on the first one were just all
all
over the
good.
place. Yeah.
All
So,
good, man.
but yeah,
All right,
that's.
yeah.
Oh, and I finished The Boys, and I watched the first 3 episodes of Daredevil.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta keep the Daredevil hive growing.
Yeah. So that's all
All
in
right.
my
Jack, what
time.
you been watching?
I had a
Give us some of this
crazy,
weird foreign films you've been watching, I bet.
I had a crazy week. I mean, I really didn't watch any foreign films this week, but I got to watch a ton of like really good Italian films over this semester, so that was a lot of fun. Um, but honestly, for the first like couple of days I got back, I was just like hanging out with family, and I really didn't get to watch a lot of movies. But then I literally just hit a streak where like the past week I watched like 10, and I went on this Mad Max like uh, marathon, which is not a big fan of the originals. I don't know. I don't know if that's just me, but I think that's a very like common thing. Is like no one like loves the original Mad Max movies. Um, I think the first one and the second one they're worth a watch. But then the third one, I was just like, I kind of wish I didn't watch that one. But
Yeah.
I started off with Fury Road, which I'd never seen that before, so I was just like, from an action standpoint, it totally rocked. I loved it. I wish there was a little bit more narrative. There's a lot of lore, which I'm sure we'll get into later, but that movie totally rocked. Then I watched American Fiction. I was waiting to watch that one for a while. I wanted to see that in theaters last year, but now it's on Prime, so I watched that. Then I watched the first Mad Max. Watched Inside Out, which I felt like it didn't really hold up as well for me as I remembered in my head. Um, or maybe I just wasn't in the mood. I don't know. Inside Out just wasn't. Uh, it's not in my top 10 for Pixar, unfortunately. Then I watched Mad Max 2, which I think that's going to disappoint some people because I know you really like Inside Out, yeah?
I really don't like Inside Out.
Oh, sweet.
I think it's
Okay, so
not good at all.
I think
Well,
it's
okay, that's pushing it.
fine.
I just don't
Jeez.
like it. I don't like
Um,
it. Not good at all is push.
I
I
don't
just held it
think.
in such.
It's not for us though.
Yeah, it's
That's
not in
my
my
thing.
top 10, but I don't think
I
it's
just held it in
bad.
such high regard before like when I saw it when I was a kid, I was like, dang, it's like one of the best Pixar movies I've seen. And then I've rewatched all the other Pixar movies, and I'm just like, I don't think it's very close. I don't know.
Maybe
But
I
then I
gotta rewatch.
watched, yeah, I because the new one comes out in what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's pretty soon. Um, but then I watched Mad Max 2, Mad Max 3, and then I rewatched Fury Road again before seeing Furiosa. Because I don't know, I was just hoping that if I fully like dove into this like George Miller like universe, I would go into Furiosa as a different person. But Furiosa rocked, and we're gonna get to that later.
Yes.
Um, but then my younger brother the next day wanted to watch The Revenant, which I hadn't seen before.
Ooh.
Um, the Revenant was awesome. I think it's a little bit like 30, maybe 40 minutes too long. But a lot of great sequences in there. Tom Hardy's awesome. DiCaprio's awesome. And then I watched King Richard because my mom is a huge tennis fan, and that's just something she's wanted to watch for a while. So I watched that. And then I was telling Hunter before you hopped on, Chuck, that yesterday the power and the Wi-Fi went out at my house, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? But then I'm like, oh, I got DVDs. So I'm gonna try and pick up the DVD player. I'm gonna plug it in the TV, and I can use this physical media that I got because I just got the Dune 2 Steelbook, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna use that. Um,
What's a
but my mom hadn't
DVD?
seen she hadn't seen Dune 2. My parents have been like just grinding my gears, dude, for buying DVDs, and it finally came in clutch yesterday. So
hmm
I just thought it'd be pretty funny to share.
Now who's laughing?
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Well, I watched a lot this last week. I really didn't have a ton to do, so I just every evening put something on. I watched Scooby Doo from 2002, which is the James Gunn one. 4 stars. I don't. It's not for everybody, but I love it. Honestly, nostalgia goggles on. It's probably not 4 stars, but I just love that movie. Then I watched Patriot Games with
Ooh,
Harrison Ford. Yeah,
yeah.
Patriot Games with Harrison Ford was pretty decent. Gave that 3.5. And then I wanted to finish the original Pirates trilogy, so I did a back-to-back Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End. I gave Dead Man's Chest 4, and then At World's End 3.5. I really like those movies, and I think the thing about them the most that I like is how visually stunning they look. But they just get a little too crazy for me, if I'm being perfectly honest. I like the first one because it's more grounded, even though there's a ship of undead, pirates. It still doesn't get as crazy as At World's End does. And then Avery and I watched Sisters from 2015, which was a pretty decent comedy. Furiosa, I watched, and we'll talk about that later. And then I was looking, just similar to you, Jack, on my physical media wall and was like, I'm going to watch something on here. So I watched the entire Back to the Future trilogy, back to back to back. And while each film gets less than the last, it still has such of like the magic of just what makes Back to the Future so great. So definitely love the rewatch. I watched Man on Fire, which I liked quite a bit. Gave it 3 stars. And then last night I did a double feature of J.J. Abrams' creature movies. So I watched Cloverfield and Super 8, and I like Super 8 a little bit more. Um, but that's about it for like the films I watched. But the other thing I watched that I wanted to talk about was it was all over Twitter this week of this YouTuber named Jenny Nichols, and Nicholson. And she uploaded a 4-hour video about the failure of that Star Wars hotel, like the Galactic Star Cruiser. And I listened to it like a podcast when I was doing some work outside. And I'm so glad I never wanted to go to that thing because what a waste of money and time it would have been. If you have 4 hours to spare, I highly recommend listening to it because it's a fascinating video on how bad of an idea that Galactic Star Cruiser was. Just highly recommend. So that's what I've been up to.
I remember seeing that on like TikTok, and it was like ridiculous. And
Yeah.
it felt like you were there, but for some reason it just wasn't clicking. So I'll definitely listen to that.
But Jack, I noticed that on ours we talked about seeing Furiosa, and someone didn't mention seeing Furiosa on their recap. That's so weird. Hey Charles,
Huh.
did you not mention it for some reason? Did you not? Why don't you say what happened?
Okay, I will. Um, Thanks for saving this question for the recording,
Yeah,
Hunter.
no problem, no problem.
Um, well, I watched some of Fury Road. Was not super into it. I watched like 45 minutes of it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed. This is not really for me. And I was gonna like, I'm going to watch the rest of that, and I will watch Furiosa. But my parents live in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, and the nearest movie theater is like an hour away. And my sister was in town on Thursday, and Jenna was in town on Thursday, and I left to go to the Indy 500 on Saturday, and I never made it to the movie theater this week, even though I know we have a guest.
Yeah,
So during that part, I'll listen, I'll take notes so I can look out for these things in the movie.
we're gonna spoil it for you. I'll be honest.
I know,
There's a
that's
spoiler
fine.
section,
That's fine.
but yeah. So yeah, Charlie didn't watch it, but let's get into some news. Let's get into some news.
Not
So the
even
first
on the
thing I want to
review
talk
yet.
about, yeah, first thing I want to talk about is this Glenn Powell article. So Hollywood Reporter did like a big feature on him because it's kind of the summer of Glenn Powell. Because After Anyone But You that just came out, but then he's also got Hitman and Twisters coming out this summer. And so I read the whole article, and honestly, it's really interesting because it's kind of the opposite of what a lot of people are doing nowadays. So just a quick recap. He talked about how he worked with Tom Cruise a lot, obviously with Top Gun Maverick, but he talks about how like that really influences his choices and roles coming up, and he won't just say yes to anything he wants to do. He's not super interested in doing like Oscar bait movies or like Marvel movies, but he wants to pick stuff that's good for him. And he even talks about how like the thing that wanted him to become an actor was Jurassic Park, and then they offered him the lead in the new Jurassic Park that we've talked about a few times, and he said no to that because he didn't think he was right for the role. And honestly, I respect the hell out of that because like a lot of times people just will say yes to big tentpoles because it pushes their star power. But I think that Glenn Powell gets that that's not how you're supposed to do things, and that's why he's my guy. I just want to talk about it because he's my guy.
Now,
I know Charlie wants to.
do you think, and I don't really have a strong opinion on this, but
Yeah.
do you think that those statements could also be taken with a hint of arrogance, where like he thinks he is above these other films? Because there are other actors who have like been advised don't do superhero films, and do you think there's
Well,
kind of like a
I think
tinge?
he would say yes to something if it fit what he wanted to do, and that fit what he would like excel at. Because I think that's really like important for what makes these guys who are the quote unquote like mega stars work is that they pick stuff that's always good. Like I think Cruise is a great example. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is a great example of like people who know how to pick good projects that you get so used to saying, "Oh, it's the next Tom Cruise movie" because you know it's going to be a certain quality. And I think that's lacking in a lot of different people nowadays. Like I thought for a long time that about Chris Evans, where it's like I think anything that he chose to do, I was pretty in on. And his last few projects, I think, are really weak, and so that really affects the way I see him as an actor, and it kind of makes me hesitant to, say that whatever he's in is going to be great. So
Has
far,
he
Glenn Powell, I think, is on that path.
has Evans ever been in a movie that's just phenomenal though? Because we saw him in the Fantastic Four growing up, and those aren't great films. Has he ever
True.
been like an actor that is,
Well, okay, so I would say from his run from basically the end of Fantastic Four up until let's go with Lightyear was a great run.
besides Captain
Yes,
America, what was
it
he
was
in?
full of Captain America,
Was Knives
Snowpiercer, which
Out
I
in
think is
there?
Snowpiercer. Yes, Knives Out is in there.
Isn't he Scott
The
Pilgrim?
Loser, Scott Pilgrim is in there. I think that a lot of those are great. There's another one where he's an uncle that I think Gifted. I think is a great film, and so I think that like that is a good choice. And then it went from Lightyear to The Gray Man, Ghosted, and Pain Hustlers, which I think are all super weak streaming films.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just think that's a very interesting choice that he made. And he also talked about how like Anyone But You, Netflix like offered a lot of money to buy the movie, and they both, him and Sydney Sweeney, both said no because it wouldn't have the same impact as if it went to theaters. Which obviously now looking back, he's 100% correct because it did really well in theaters and it did have a cultural impact that I don't think it would have had if it just dropped on Netflix one weekend and then we moved on with our lives. So I don't know. I like this a lot, and also Glenn Powell guy. What you gonna do? Like
You
this,
are a
this is my
Glenn
guy.
Powell guy.
Yeah.
You are a Glenn Powell guy.
Moving on. Dua Lipa is rumored to be Meg in the live-action Hercules.
Yes!
I saw Austin Butler was being eyed as well for
Yes.
Hercules.
So they were saying Austin Butler was the main, I guess, star they're looking at. I like this.
Side note.
Charlie clearly likes this.
Uh, side note. Austin Butler waved the green flag at the Indy 500 this year.
Yeah, for the
Really?
bike riders.
There's a ton of celebrities in Indy this weekend. I mean, obviously with
Dylan
but
Sprouse.
I went to the Pacers game, and Sprouse was there. Madeline Klein was there.
Brutal game.
I want to say
Well,
there
not
was
for
some
you.
more.
Tonight we find out if the Pacers survive.
Aren't you? You're a Celtics fan, right?
I am.
Okay, yeah.
I'm actually head of the game that night as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
not a brutal
awesome.
game for you. Very good game for you.
No, great game.
Um,
Great game for you.
yeah. Anyway, back to Hercules.
I think this is a great choice. If it happens.
I feel like I'm kind of tired of just the live action Disney stuff, but I feel like if they were to get Austin Butler in on this, I would be more invested
Well,
than if they threw some rando in there.
the live action stuff, it they're going they're like, how do I phrase this? They're going along a specific interpretation of like Walt Disney's wishes. where like every Disney project will be made like for every generation. So they're like that's why they're doing all these old projects, right? Because they want to make all these old stories accessible and updated and modern for the new generation to enjoy. So
But I think I don't know.
they're not
I
going to
kind of agree with
stop, I
Jack.
don't think.
No, the only ones that I even kind of like is I liked the Aladdin remake. I liked Beauty and the Beast. I liked
Hmm.
Cruella, and I kind of liked the Jungle Book. But even I didn't really like the Jungle Book that much.
I haven't seen a lot of them. I saw The Lion King, I saw Beauty and the Beast. I thought Beauty and the Beast was good. The Lion King was kind of just like, meh. Like they did it.
See,
Good
I don't know.
job.
I think that it'd be different. Like that. The reason why I like Cruella a lot is because it's different. It takes the character we know and does something different with them instead of just being like a shot-for-shot remake of the original, which is The Lion King, which I
Plus,
think
it's got Emma Stone too. So I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like
that's a
it's not.
bonus.
It's
Yeah.
hard to mess that up. So I
Yeah.
think if they got a good cast for Hercules, I think people are gonna love it.
No, I'm with you. All right. Next up, Paul Mescal is being eyed to play one of the Beatles in that new 4-year Beatles biopic movie we talked about a couple weeks ago. Jack, if you're unaware, they're making 4 Beatles movies coming out the same year, spread throughout the year. Um, it's so stupid. But Paul Mescal is being rumored to be one of the Beatles. If I had to guess, probably gonna be Paul. But why? Why are they doing this? Just make a Beatles movie.
I hope it
Uh,
gets memed to oblivion.
yeah, it probably will.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Ringo from the Beatles. I just we talked about this when it first came out, but like
We talked
it's
about
pretty
this
clear
in
that
for a long time when this
yeah,
first
it's
came to
pretty
light.
clear that the one of them is going to make the most money. It's going to be the John, right? Isn't John Lennon probably going to have the most money, and then Paul McCartney?
I feel like Paul's number one
Maybe okay, so Paul, then
because
John,
everyone knows who Paul
then
is.
Ringo, and then George Harrison.
George Harrison's making the least. We can all agree on that.
George Harrison. I'm most excited for the Ringo movie. If I'm being honest, I'm a Ringo guy. I'm ready for the Ringo movie.
George Harrison's going to be such a bust. You ask someone, name the 4 Beatles, George Harrison's always the miss. No one knows. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
who's
No,
that
we
fourth
didn't
one?
figure out the fourth Beatle.
I would have missed him.
Yeah.
Hey Paul, I'd like to do the song about the yellow submarine. Not now, Ringo. Not now. I don't know. But it's directed by Sam Mendes, who's doing all 4 of them.
A lot of
Which,
work.
right? I don't get how this is gonna work, but we'll see because we're gonna get it. Next up, do you guys like Knives Out or Glass Onion? Well, we're
Big
getting
fan.
Knives Out 3, titled "Wake Up Dead Man," comes out next year.
Is Daniel Craig still in it?
Yes, still Benoit Blanc, and still with Ryan Johnson writing and directing.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm in. I just think it's crazy this is not in theaters. Why is this a Netflix movie?
Were the first 2 Netflix movies?
No, the first one made a bunch of money in theaters, and then Netflix bought the
Oh,
rights
what?
and then put it on
Oh,
Netflix. That's
right.
why Glass Onion was on
Yes.
Netflix.
That's right.
I know Glass Onion had a limited release in theaters, or at least for like a short amount of time.
Yeah, but it was only like in major cities. Like we couldn't even go see
Mm,
it. Like if we
gotcha.
wanted to see, we had to drive to Indy, and I wasn't driving to Indy because I don't have a car. So.
Okay.
Um,
Fair.
but I'm excited for the cast of whoever this ends up being. I think that obviously the ensemble cast like always the big draw. So I'm ready for those rumors to start up, and we get to talk about those over the next couple of months.
No,
Should be
I agree.
great.
Agreed.
I'm trying to think of who I'd probably want the most in one of these.
Dua Lipa.
I
Just
I'm
put Dua
actually
was
Lipa
being
in
serious.
everything.
I kind of would like Dua Lipa in one of these. Dwayne the Rock
we haven't
Johnson,
gotten
John
your.
Cena, just
Oh,
all
we got
these.
some rock news coming up.
Oh, really?
I was thinking. I don't know. I was kind of thinking having Michael Keaton in one of these as like a rich billionaire.
I'm for it.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I don't
I'm
know.
in.
I'd like to throw like Bradley Cooper in there, but like
Yeah.
I don't think that's the type of projects he'd pick right now. I mean, especially after Maestro, it's just like I don't know if he would go for that.
Maybe
No,
I'm all for
unfortunately,
it.
yeah.
what's her name from? I don't know why I'm blanking. Stranger Things, the new Beetlejuice, or in Beetlejuice as well. Winona Ryder.
Oh,
Oh,
Winona
yeah.
Ryder would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll get some more information in the next couple months. But yeah. Next up, Steve Carell to star in an HBO comedy from Bill Lawrence. Remember what we talked about last week, Chuck, about there
Mm-hmm.
was a new Steve Carell project, and we said we were both out on it, I think. This I'm in on. This I'm back in on with Steve Carell. HBO comedy sounds much more my speed than what Steve Carell should be doing versus random Netflix comedies. Like, I think this is going to be a very good show. But that's just because it has HBO in the name, being honest. So,
There are like 4 things that will please you, Hunter, and HBO is one of them. The two of
well,
them
okay.
are Tom Cruise and Glenn Powell,
Yep.
and
Facts.
fourth one, Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
I
Okay,
think
well, here's my thing. I think that what the same reason I like the Glenn Powell article a lot is because you have a trust in the product that's given to you before. And HBO has really never failed me in the product. So you have someone I like in Steve Carell, and then HBO, which is kind of that combination of
yep,
two things that I like, and I think that that'll be solid.
fair
But
enough.
then if you say Netflix, I'm like, Netflix has failed me infinite times. So it's
Wait,
like I don't know what to trust.
let's hear Jack's top. Let's hear your ranking for streaming service TV shows.
Yeah.
For streaming service TV shows.
Mm-hmm. Or just streaming
Like,
services in general.
yeah,
I
I think
mean,
streaming.
But
I think
original content.
from the general consensus, I feel like is Prime produces some pretty good stuff. Because what Prime has had Fallout,
The Boys,
Fallout, The
Gen
or
V,
Boys.
Fallout, The Boys,
Invincible.
what is it, Invincible? I mean, everyone like. Unfortunately, I've seen parts of it, so I haven't watched all of it. But the parts that I've watched have been really good. The Boys rocks. I mean, I'm so amped for the new season to come out. I mean, I've been ready for that ever since the last season ended.
Yeah, I love
Um,
Reacher too. Reacher's so good.
the one thing I can tell you is like Netflix. I can't remember the last time I watched a full Netflix series.
The
They
only one
Maybe
I
made
I'm
watched
maybe
is
I'm
Stranger
tripping.
Things.
Yeah,
It's
Stranger
the only
Things,
one I
but
watched. It's the
I've
only
been
one.
waiting for
they
that for
had
what,
none of
like 2 years to come
they
out
had a
with the new
strong
season.
Riverdale run as well.
I'll agree.
But
I'll agree with
Riverdale
that. Yeah.
wasn't on Netflix. Riverdale was on CW, and then went on Netflix afterwards.
Wait,
So
it
it's not a
wasn't a
Netflix show.
Netflix original?
No.
Oh, what a shame. What a
And the
shame.
only other Netflix show I liked just ended in The Crown. So that's over now. So once Stranger Things ends,
What
I
is
think I'm
Witcher
out on
on?
Netflix. Witcher's on Netflix, but that went bad because they got rid of Henry Cavill.
I don't know.
So yeah,
New
yeah.
shots from that of Liam Hemsworth. I mean, he looks pretty good.
I think Netflix is for normal people, like normies. Because okay, right now the top two movies on Netflix right now today are Atlas, which is the AI bad movie starring Jennifer Lopez, which I think has a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the number two movie right now on Netflix is Madam Web.
Ooh.
So that is the people that Netflix is going after. Also on the
You know,
top 10 are both the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle live action movies from the mid 2010s, starring Megan Fox. So yeah, real high quality stuff over there at Netflix.
well, I think I can speak for just myself because I know Chuck was saying that he wants to watch some bad movies to make his letterbox look a little bit
Netflix
better.
originals,
Ooh,
baby.
But
let me
I
finish.
don't want to do that. I feel like there's so many good movies I haven't seen that I'm just like.
There's so many
I
of
mean,
them.
I have this list. My girlfriend got me this poster, and it's like a scratch off, and it's like top 100 movies of all time. Not that that list is super accurate, but almost every movie I've watched on there has been like really good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
whenever I see this new Jennifer Lopez movie come out, I'm not like, wow, I need to watch that. So I'm not gonna watch it. I don't think I ever will watch it.
no, I'm never gonna watch it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's crazy that like this is the stuff they choose to promote. Where it's like
Oh, I know.
Netflix as it has so many great things on the platform, and then they choose to promote like I don't know Red Notice or like Lift. It's like what are we doing? I don't know. But I'm so very anti-Netflix. We have something we can talk about with Netflix later too. Actually, let's just talk right now. So the Netflix, I think I can pull up what the guy's name is. Barben. We talked about Barbenheimer last year. So the Netflix CEO. This is the guy in charge of Netflix and in charge of the largest company, basically, when it comes to the media we consume. Said the Barbenheimer thing would have happened successfully, if not even better, if it just dropped on Netflix and wasn't in theaters. What a clown. I'm sorry. What a clown. Yeah. This
Makes
guy
me so
is.
upset.
It makes me so upset. Because it's like, oh, yeah, it would have happened the same way.
That's a bummer.
For me, that
That's a
was
real
like a
bummer.
top tier movie going experience, going straight
Yes.
from Oppenheimer to Barbie. Like
So many
I
people
wish
did
we
that
had
that don't really aren't cinephiles. So many
exactly.
normal
It was an
moviegoers went to that.
experience to go to.
Yeah.
It was a cultural moment that just doesn't happen on Netflix. And the other thing he said that really annoyed me was he's like, I don't think there's actually a reason to believe certain kind of movies need a screen that's big. He's like, my son's in Edinburgh. He's 28 years old and watched Lawrence of Arabia on his phone. I'm sorry. You're a clown. Like, some things are designed for the big screen. If you watch, I think, actually, the Marvel movies are a great example. If you watch Avengers Endgame, an opening night in a theater, it's a very different experience than watching it at home by yourself on a random Tuesday. If you watch, even Mad Max is a great example we're going to talk about later. That movie is very different if you're watching it at home or on your iPhone. It's
Dune.
not the same. Yes,
Dune.
Dune is a great example.
Yeah.
These movies are not made for your iPhone. Netflix movies are, because they all are garbage. But, like, it's just, it makes me so annoyed. It makes me so annoyed.
Well,
Hey,
it's
Hunter,
frustrating when
Yeah.
does that make you annoyed?
Yes. I hate it.
well,
Sorry,
it's
Jack.
frustrating because this guy's supposed to like Netflix and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
nothing against Netflix, but they don't they miss more than they hit. I mean, they're like for them they're trying to be like baseball, you know.
Yeah.
If you hit, I don't watch baseball, but it's like if you give anyone that percentage of success, they would tell you it's a bad percentage of success. But for baseball, it's good. That's what I feel like. That's what Netflix's success rate is. I feel like
Bad in like
they very
275.
rarely hit. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
3 out of
And
every
and for
10.
me, this guy's supposed to be the face of entertainment, and
Yeah.
he's saying that some things aren't supposed to be seen on the big screen. It's like I literally felt like my soul, like the scene in Doctor Strange where I don't know the direct vocabulary, but literally his soul just like goes out of his body.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like watching the beginning of Dune 2. I felt that happen. And it was just an unreal moment. And to say that someone that has this much of a say on entertainment for the future, that movie theaters don't have that big of an impact is just sad.
When did he
It's
make
it's
these comments?
this week.
Was it on Thursday?
It might have been on Thursday.
I'm looking at Netflix stock.
Did it go down?
I was just kind of curious. Yeah, it
I
dropped
hope it went down.
it dropped like 10%. Nah, like 6 or 7%
Good.
at the end of the day.
I'm so anti.
And then it went back up.
Also, the other thing that makes me so annoyed is that they don't put their stuff out on physical media too. It's like I would like to purchase some of the things, and they won't let me. All right, moving on from Netflix because why talk about Pirates of the Caribbean? There are two Pirates of the Caribbean movies coming. One potentially starring and produced by Margot Robbie, and the other will be a soft reboot of the franchise with the original producer Jerry Bruckheimer. After rewatching Pirates of the Caribbean this last week, I'm actually pretty excited for this. I
Wait,
think that
so
you
they're
should do a
doing
brand new thing. They're doing two, it seems. They're doing a Margot Robbie one, and then a new one that is more connected to the originals, but I don't think anyone's returning.
so it's not one or the other. Both are occurring.
I think both. It seems like both are happening.
So are they just going to go with whichever one is more successful, or are they going to try to expand on both of them?
I think the Margot Robbie one will probably be a one-off, and then the other one will be a continuation franchise.
Okay. Gotcha.
But they said the script is almost done, and so they're ready to go relatively soon. So probably in the next year, we'll be getting a new Pirates movie that'll be started filming.
Is Johnny Depp going to be in it again?
The producer, Jerry Bruckheimer, said he would like to, but I would be willing to bet Disney would still stay away after everything. Even though Depp was found innocent, I still think it's just, let's just cut ties and redo.
That's a bummer. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm in on that then. I feel like he is the face of Pirates.
I just think you have to make it very different, and then he'll be back.
I mean, I think if they keep at least the feeling of like the physical set or like the physical props
Yes.
and what they use to help build that universe is what made those movies so awesome, because you see these huge ships. I mean, the set pieces that they build were just awesome.
I agree.
So if they do the same with that, I mean, I'll be there in the theater regardless.
Yeah.
Yep.
Moving on to something we've talked about before, The Smashing Machine. Benny Safdie, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Emily Blunt. We had our first look at it, and it doesn't even look like The Rock. And so this is what we talked about, Charles, a couple months ago. We're getting that Rock Oscar. It's coming. It's coming. The Rock will be getting an Oscar, and it's going to be for this. He does not. He looks unrecognizable.
I haven't seen this.
It's on our shameless plug. It's on our Instagram and Twitter, so you should check it out.
You mean it's on the at Real Serious Podcast Instagram and Twitter?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Along with everything else, that's why you should be following, obviously. So yeah, I think it looks great. I really love the Safdies, and so this is just Benny Safdie, but I'm in.
This is
A24
crazy.
too, right?
Yes, A24.
I mean, I'm in. I
Right?
think The Rock chooses a lot of goofy projects, but I think this could be his Adam Sandler moment.
Yeah,
To
and it's with the
have a
Safdies
dramatic
who
role.
did that.
This looks nothing like him.
I'm in.
I also think it's funny that it's Emily Blunt and The Rock again, who just did what was that Disney movie with the
Jungle Cruise?
Yeah, just did
Yeah.
Jungle Cruise together, and now we're getting this. So it's
Yeah.
like their return together is, I guess, in this.
Emily Blunt's working overtime, man. She's in everything.
Seriously, she's
For good reason. For good reason.
For good reason. Yeah, that's about it. Unless Charles, you have any thoughts on it else or no?
No, I'm just hyped for the Rock Oscar. It'll be one down, two to go. We'll just need John Cena and Tom Cruise to get Oscars, and then we're good.
And Glenn Powell.
Then we can, well...
And we're going to get Skylar Gisondo his Oscar.
Well, if those three get Oscars, I can die a happy man. If Glenn Powell does, then cool.
Yeah.
I feel like Glenn Powell is on a Matthew McConaughey trajectory.
I like that. Hopefully he stays a little longer around than Matthew McConaughey has.
No, exactly. But I think he starts off with the rom-coms, get familiar with the crowd. The crowd falls in love with him, and then he's already gotten in what's his new movie that's coming out, The Hitman?
Hitman and Twisters.
Yeah, so he's got some more dramatic roles to come. So we'll see how it pans out.
You're gonna feel so bad when Twisters is great. You're gonna feel so bad.
Hunter is insisting that this is going to be the movie of the summer.
Yep,
and
I am.
Didn't you say it'll perform better than Top Gun Maverick?
No, I did not. I said it would hit 800 million, though. I said 800 million is what I think it's about to
okay.
It's gonna hit.
All right.
Hey, man, just trust the process. Twisters.
Okay.
All right. Star Trek. You guys Trekkies? Do you know Klingon?
I'm in.
That was fast. Simon Kinberg, long-running X-Men producer, is joining Paramount to produce a brand new Star Trek franchise. I guess. I don't know. I like Star Trek. I liked the last ones, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Chris Pine?
Yeah, the Chris Pine movies I think are pretty solid. I like those. So
what, Zoe Saldana in them too?
Yeah.
She's in a lot of stuff.
Dude, I think Zoe Saldana is one of the highest grossing
She's in Avatar, Guardians, she's Star Trek, what else is she in?
She's in a couple rom-coms, I want to say. There's one where she brings her boyfriend over or something.
I just saw
I remember.
I just saw one with her. I forget what it was. Because I remember saying, "Oh, is that Zoe Saldana?"
She has a new one coming out too that just, I believe, won at Cannes for won the Palme d'Or.
Was it Honora?
Yes, I think it's that. She either won that or she won Best Actress for.
Oh, gotcha.
She's in Pirates too.
Yeah, she is in Pirates. All right, so she is number 4 all time for the highest grossing movies ever. But thing with this is that she has way less films than anyone above her. Robert Downey Jr. is number 1 on the list, and he has 65 films, compared to hers at number 4 of 31 films.
Is she the highest actress?
She also is the highest average. And no, she is not. Scarlett Johansson is the highest actress.
Whoa.
Beating her by just about $1 billion. So basically once the next Avatar comes out. Yeah, so we're good.
Yeah, Avatar 3 and it's over.
Yeah. Actually, the lowest number of movies on this list to get is Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is number 5, and he only has 23 films that
just $1 billion.
That make it.
Just $1 billion.
Just a casual bill.
Am I think I saw like Garfield's outperforming Furiosa at the box
Furiosa
office. Is that correct?
Yes, Furiosa is not. Well, the entire box office it's the lowest Memorial Day box office in 40 years.
That's tragic, man.
Because everyone's traveling. It's like the highest
everyone's
traveling.
Waiting for Twisters.
It's the highest traveling weekend for Memorial Day, I think, like ever.
Yeah.
So everyone's.
So it really just is not good. Another A24 news. A24 buys the rights to The Death of Robin Hood, starring Hugh Jackman and Jodie Comer. So we're getting more Hugh Jackman.
More Robin Hood.
More Robin Hood. Sure. I don't really know anything else about it. It's Robin Hood.
Hugh Jackman, I'm in, man.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Robin Hood, I feel like, is a very basic concept to grasp. Mark Ruffalo will co-star opposite Chris Hemsworth, so a little Avengers reunion, in Amazon's Crime 101. It is going to be a crime thriller that will star both of them. So, sure. I'll take a little reunion.
Friend from work?
Yeah, he's a friend from work. This next one I'm very excited for. Street Fighter. Yes. Did you guys ever play Street Fighter?
I didn't grow up. I feel like we missed. Street Fighter was really popular on the Genesis, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely more of like a 90s.
So we missed the whole Street Fighter wave. Because it was like an arcade game, and then it got really popular on the Sega Genesis whenever that was made, like early 90s, mid 90s. So we missed it, I feel like. So I never played it.
I also think a big thing for it too was that there was the like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and I think for our kind of generation of games, Mortal Kombat was always the winner. Like if you're gonna play a fighting game, I think it was Mortal Kombat.
Or Injustice.
Injustice, which was basically Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
But Street Fighter is coming, and sure. I'm actually like pretty excited for it. I think that we'll get hopefully a pretty solid action movie, at least, if we're not getting anything else. And it's from the directors of Talk to Me, who got their start on YouTube, and one of the things that got them their start on YouTube was they made a Street Fighter video, which went like super viral.
Oh.
Because of the action in it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. Probably in the early 2014, 2012 era.
Okay.
And Talk to Me was really, really good from last year. So that was like their big moment. So hopefully it's going to be solid. I hope.
Hopefully.
And one of your favorites from this year, Charles, Godzilla Kong. The director of the last one is not returning for the sequel, for this next third one. Do you want to have a moment of silence for your king, Chuck? Because you're just so in love with Godzilla X Kong.
Did I give off the impression that I like loved or hated that movie? I feel like I was very neutral on that movie.
I just think you liked it more than I did. Jack, did you see Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire?
I saw the only Godzilla movie I've seen is -1, and from what I've heard, it's the best one. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it is. So yeah, you're not missing out that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going a new direction for this next sequel. So I guess we'll find out what it's going to be. But I hope they just do more fighting. I don't want all this kid is like a chosen one stuff.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
So
That was yeah.
all right,
Really.
and then before we get to our comic book news, the other big thing I want to talk about was Steven Spielberg's next movie to hit theaters in May 2026. Now, this is for a couple reasons. This is his untitled UFO movie that is I think, his big step back into like big action blockbusters. But the other reason why is it seems like they're very confident in whatever this film is going to be because it's supposed to come out right before uh, the new Avengers 5. So they're very confident in this movie being really solid. And I'm very excited for that.
Great.
I'm just excited for Steven Spielberg to be back.
Or they're confident that Marvel's gonna push it back, like they push back everything.
That's probably going to happen.
Like, oh, we were gonna go see Avengers this weekend. Now it's pushed back. I guess we'll go see this Steven
Well, I
Spielberg.
think Steven Spielberg is a pretty big draw.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, here we go. So there's actually not. Oh, I was incorrect. Hang on, let me correct myself. Not only is it before the new Avengers movie, it's right after the new Star Wars movie in the same month.
Yeah.
So that month is going to have, let's see, May. May 1st, Avengers The Kang Dynasty. May 15th, the Steven Spielberg movie. May 22nd, Mandalorian and Grogu. And May 29th, Untitled DC film. So that month is packed. May 2026. Mark the calendars now. I think
Good
Steven
month to have
Spielberg.
Stubbs list.
Yeah, I think Steven Spielberg's gonna be the best one. I'm so excited for this. I'm very excited for Spielberg to be back in this kind of movie. Because I was thinking, I watched Super 8 last night, which is like very Steven Spielberg-esque, and it's just I'm back. So, Chuck, you a big Spielberg head?
I don't think I've seen that many Spielberg movies. I mean, he did Jurassic Park, right? What else has he done? Did he do Back to the Future as well?
He did.
No,
He did.
he produced it.
Indiana Jones,
Oh, never mind. Yeah.
Schindler's
Okay.
List,
Ready Player
Jaws.
One, Minority Report, The
Oh,
Terminal,
okay.
Catch Me
Never
If You
mind.
Can,
I have seen a lot of Steven Spielberg movies. Yeah.
Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna watch Schindler's
Fablemans.
List this week, but it wasn't free on any streaming services. And then I watched
You know where it
Hacksaw
is though?
Ridge.
Back there.
Yeah, he's got a lot of bangers. I mean, just so
Probably
many
like
classics, then
one of
so
the
many
greatest directors of all
more
time.
recent. No, hands down, hands down.
Yeah. So yeah, this is gonna be great. Next up, let's talk about some comic book stuff. Lanterns, the DC show coming to Max, has found its head writer and
Ooh.
showrunner. It will be David Lindelof, Chris Mundy, and Tom King. Tom King, if I recall, is more of a comic book guy, but he is very involved with that show. But Damon Lindelof is the one that actually gets me really excited because Damon Lindelof, I think, is probably one of the better people working today in TV. So yeah, I'm pretty in on this show, and also I'm just excited for Green Lantern again because I feel like we haven't got it in forever.
Yeah, I love Green Lantern, and I feel like we've never gotten like a solid Green Lantern. So, and hearing that it's on Max, I mean,
All right.
come on.
Well, hang on.
Max, Green Lantern together.
Yeah,
It's a for sure win.
it's a for sure win. You guys are haters, but I know that I'm right. I know I'm right on this.
We're not hating.
Not hating.
Listen. Have you ever thought to yourself, "I'm going to start a new show," and you're like, it's on Netflix. You're like, it's probably gonna be bad, and then you see an HBO show, and you're like, it's probably gonna be good. So
Every day.
every day. So yeah, that's coming, and I'm very excited for it. Hopefully, it's
Sweet.
great.
I just got the speaking of comics, more on the topic. I just got the second compendium for Invincible.
Oh,
Yeah,
is it real thick?
very thick. Yeah. It's like that thick. I think it's like issues 46 through 92, I want to say. So it's just a bunch of mini
Okay.
comics all in one book. I don't know where the TV show is on right now, though, because I haven't read the first compendium, so I don't even know if they finished that one.
I think they just did.
They just finished the first compendium in the show?
Thought so.
Okay. I mean, I can read it.
To be honest, I don't know. I don't really read, so
True.
yeah. It's just like, why read it when I can watch it?
Exactly.
Like, what are we doing here?
That's what I was
2026, Vision. In the MCU, Paul Bettany is returning as Vision. Okay.
Well, aren't they doing another season of WandaVision?
I think this is the other season of WandaVision. It's
Okay.
this.
Sweet.
I mean, what at the end of WandaVision, we got that the White Vision, where he's like
Yep.
is that the only Vision that's around right now, or is there another
Yeah,
Vision?
that's the only one, because the other one got sucked. Like, Wanda had created the other one, and then when
Oh,
she
that's
took
right.
down, I forgot what the town was called,
Agatha. Oh.
but when she took down the huge hex, then that Vision disappeared along with her kids. So now it's just
Look,
White Vision.
as long as Randall Park is in this, I'm in. I'm in.
He is a great
Randall
part
Park
of
is in
the
this.
shows.
John
I-
Krasinski.
Jim?
Crazy they're doing this. I don't know anyone who's asking for a Vision show.
I
But
agree.
WandaVision was really good, in my humble
Yes, but
opinion.
WandaVision was
first
really
one.
good until the end.
You don't like the end? Oh,
I-
I mean, Agatha was kind of mid. Good thing they're coming out
Well,
with a TV
hey.
show about her.
September, Agatha all along.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because that was the first, Marvel's at its peak at that point. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, they're coming out with a TV show. This is awesome." And I cranked through that show. There were so many theories on TikTok, on YouTube.
Yeah.
That watched
Mephisto?
so many videos.
Mephisto, or whatever. How you
Mephisto, yeah.
Yeah.
Mephisto.
So it's coming.
I don't even know if we're gonna see this guy in the MCU, but everyone is just losing their minds whether Mephisto is gonna show up or not. And then I don't know. So I don't know if that played into how I remember WandaVision to be, but I just feel like there was so much hype, and all my friends that didn't even love Marvel that much were watching the show. As to where now I feel like I've gotten so behind on all these Marvel TV shows, I could just really care less.
So we talked about it last week, and the Marvel kind of head came out and talked about how they're going to treat it like comics, where
Yeah.
Marvel TV is going to be less you must see everything and more pick your own adventure of what you like. I think that's the right way to do it. But for upcoming shows, they have Agatha All Along, Daredevil, Ironheart. Then they also have this Vision show. They have Armor Wars, which now they actually made a movie. But there's a couple other things they have. They have the Wakanda spinoff coming. Apparently Nova is coming as a TV show. Wonder Man is coming as a Disney Plus series, which they've already filmed, which starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen. What If Season 3. Marvel Zombies TV show. From the Neighborhood Spider-Man. X-Men Season 2. So, I don't know.
Sounds like a
It's
lot
just
to me.
It's a lot of stuff.
Kind of a mess. Kind of a mess.
Yes.
Slow it down.
They need to do 2 movies a year and 2 shows a year and just have it go like that. That's all it needs to be.
I feel like that's
all
still
right,
a lot.
So if you did a movie in May, so you start the year with a show in January, February, a movie in May, another show in, let's say, August, and then finish the year out with a November, December, even October movie release. That's pretty spread out, I feel.
I suppose.
All right, Venom 3, The Last Dance. All right, I'm going to tell you a true statement about this movie, apparently, and I'm going to tell you a fake statement. You can tell me which one you think is true. All right, true statement about this movie. Carnage will get resurrected, and then he'll have to fight Venom across the multiverse. Or a 10-year-old Peter Parker will appear in the film, and Venom has to protect Peter Parker before he becomes Spider-Man. Which of those statements is true?
They both sound really bad. So I don't. I thought there would be an obvious one, then I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. There's no way they choose that one, but they're both.
Yeah.
The second
I
one
feel like they're
sounds
gonna.
better.
I think I'm gonna go with the second one.
Yes, that is correct. Apparently, this plot is going to be a 10-year-old Peter Parker is appearing in this movie, and Venom and Eddie Brock are going to have to protect Peter Parker because he has to become Spider-Man. Um,
What a bummer.
why?
It could be worse. It could be worse. I hated Venom, the Carnage, the second Venom movie. I couldn't stand it. I thought it was terrible. So it'll be interesting to see how this. Maybe it's for the better. I don't know. It's a crazy idea though.
This is the last Venom, though. It is confirmed this will be the last Venom. I just think it's crazy that if you're going to do Venom and all this, have Spider-Man for that universe, have it be Andrew Garfield.
Well, I think it's funny because they have, like, I feel like at this point they know it's a joke. Like
Yes.
Venom, the Last Dance, like that's such a joke. Like that's like a joke you and your friends would make for your intramural team. You know, like you're about to
Yeah.
go out for your last game, you like post something on Instagram, like the Last Dance. Like there's no way someone came up with that
Yeah.
title. And like this is so serious. We are so serious about this.
See, I agree it's a joke, and then you look at the box office and you're like, that is depressing because the first Venom made almost $900 million. The second Venom, during COVID, hit $500 million.
Again, bummer. That's a
Yeah.
real bummer.
That's a bummer. That is a
That
bummer.
bums me out.
Yeah. So they're gonna keep making these. Well, actually, they're not because this Venom was the last one, but they're gonna make the third one. Ah, man, real not good. But on to our last piece of news. X-Men. We have a confirmed writer, the same writer who did the Hunger Games one that just came out last November. They will be writing the script, and it's coming sooner than we think. So, X-Men. I'm pretty excited for this.
I've seen fan cast like crazy for the like live action X-Men movies. I mean, it's
Why would
absurd.
you not just give this to the team who made X-Men '97 though? Why would you not be like, hey, why don't you guys write this?
Because that'd be too logical, Hunter.
Oh, you're right. I didn't think about that. I didn't even think about it. They're too busy writing season 2.
Too
That's what
logical. Why do something go with a successful writer when you can try something new?
Yeah.
Like
My only hope is that Scott Summers is the lead. Make Cyclops the lead. This is very simple.
Well, I didn't watch the X-Men. Was it '97?
You should.
It was very good.
I've heard it's fantastic, but
Very, very good.
from what I've heard, it sounds like Wolverine takes a backseat to all the other
Yes.
characters, and I feel like that's what like at this point we love Wolverine. Wolverine's great. We've gotten so much Wolverine. I'm excited for Deadpool Wolverine, but I think everyone wants to see like some good stories from, Rogue, Scott Summers, Jean Grey.
It's a lot of
There's so many.
yeah. It's a lot of Scott
Iceman.
and
There's so many
Jean.
good characters.
It's a lot of Scott and Jean, Storm, and Rogue. That's kind of
Yeah.
like
Magneto and Professor X. That's all you need. That's the X-Men.
yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Give me good Beast, and I'm happy. This seems very simple, and I feel like it's going to be so not great. So, I don't know. I have
feel
very
like
low expectations for this.
I feel like they're so concerned about mixing in the X-Men potentially with like the rest of the MCU and how that's gonna look that it's just like just write a good X-Men story and figure it out later.
I think they're probably going to treat it the same way they're doing this Fantastic Four movie, where it's going to be they're in a separate universe and they get pulled in. That's probably the way they're going to do it, because I don't know how else you tell the story of Professor X and Magneto being around for 40 years, 50 years.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, they were in the background the whole time. It's like, okay.
I mean, yeah, to
Sure.
go off of your point, Jack, that's what they did the first time with MCU. Like, they had Iron Man, then they had Iron Man 2, and then Captain America, and they didn't bring them all together until, like, the Avengers. Like, they figured it out later, and it worked great. So,
I do think
I
the X-Men
agree.
have to be together from the jump, though. I
Right.
think you have to keep them together.
No, yeah. I think what we mean is, like, write a good X-Men movie and then
Yeah.
bring it into the MCU later, or figure out how to bring it in later. But like focus on making a good
Yes.
story first. Is that what you meant, Jack?
Yeah.
No, 100%. That's what I
Okay.
was saying because I feel like it's
Perfect. Yeah.
just in the early start of the MCU, they would like hint, like Nick Fury showing up at Tony Stark's house. That was like showing that it might be leaning into something bigger. I mean,
Hmm.
they knew what they were doing, but I feel like now they're just hyper analyzing everything, and they're like, we have
Yeah.
5,000 characters, and we all want them to be in the same movie. It's awesome, but I think Endgame was a once in a lifetime type of movie. I don't think it's going to be that easy when you bring in Fantastic Four with the X-Men. It's just going to get really messy.
I think Secret Wars has a shot to do it.
I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong
I think
because
Secret
it'd be
Wars has a
awesome.
good shot to do it.
Well, because
Uh,
Secret Wars is essentially like the two storylines of where
well, yeah.
the
It also
universes
depends on
collide.
what secret. Yeah, there's two Secret Wars they could go off of. The original, which is more of like the main Marvel universe coming together, and they go to Battle World and they fight there. And then there's the newer one where it's the multiple universes coming together, and then it's one universe from afterwards. But we'll see. I bet they'll just do an amalgamation of those two. I guess we'll have to just wait till May 2026 because that's what's on the calendar. That's definitely coming. All right, moving on to trailers. I think this one Jack is very excited for. Harold and the Purple Crayon. Got a new trailer for Harold and the Purple Crayon. Zachary Levi. Oof, this looks bad.
Looks so bad.
It looks bad.
I like Zachary Levi, but the fact that he chose this project does not give me much hope.
I'm not
We
shocked he chose this.
we went through, yeah. Hunter and I went through his past projects in an
They're
episode,
not good.
and he's in a lot of bad stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
they're real
hoping that
bad.
he would choose better projects, but I mean, obviously he's kind of made this reputation for himself to choose bad stuff. So I
I
don't
mean,
know.
like his biggest things are Tangled. He was one of the helper guys in Thor. Obviously
Shazam.
Shazam, and then when he played Kurt Warner in American Underdog. But since Shazam: Fury of the Gods, he's been in two things. One was a Spy Kids movie that went direct to Netflix, and the other one was a Chicken Run movie that went direct to Netflix. And then his next up will be Harold and Purple Crayon.
Woof.
Yeah, not good. So, real exciting time. I don't know. Probably not going to be great. I have no other thoughts on that.
Just bad.
Um, Next up, two soft reboots. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley, coming to Netflix, July 3rd. Have either of you seen any of the Beverly Hills Cops before? I highly
I think
recommend. The first one I think is very, very good, and the other ones are solid comedies. I'm excited for Eddie Murphy to kind of have this resurgence. Doesn't look that awesome, but he wears a Lions jacket throughout, so I'm in on that. And
Bruh.
I don't know. I just think it looks decent. I think it's going to be a great streaming movie. That's all I'm going to say about it. I have no other thoughts besides that.
I don't have a strong opinion because I haven't seen any of the other ones, so it's kind of like going in blind. I mean, I'll watch them before that comes out, but right now I don't have a strong opinion.
same here.
And then last but not least, Beetlejuice, aka Beetlejuice 2. I think this looks great. I think this looks really good.
What do you like about it?
Well, I like that everyone returned. What do you like about it? All right, what do you don't like about it? Yeah, let's. Why don't you stop, Charles?
Well, I hate to break it to you, Hunter, but I got home like 5 minutes before the podcast started recording, so I didn't get to watch it. But you know what
Oh
I'll do?
wow.
You know what I'll do? I'll mute while you guys are reviewing Furiosa, and I'll watch the trailer, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Okay.
You know, Chuck, if you would have gone and saw Furiosa, you probably would have saw the Beetlejuice trailer.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that
So,
works. If you
Jackson,
go to the
Jackson,
movies, you'll.
you saw Furiosa. Why don't you give your thoughts on this trailer?
I mean, I thought it looked interesting. I haven't seen the first Beetlejuice in forever, but it looked like there's the whole like sand world, or it's like I don't know where they get sent. I haven't seen it in forever, but it looks like they're in this like sand world where there's this like I don't know if Beetlejuice turns into this like big worm. Am I tripping
Yeah,
right now?
the
I
sand.
feel like
Yeah,
I'm
I know
yeah.
you're talking about the sand
They're in
world.
that, like the sand world and like the it looks interesting that whether they I mean it's clearly CGI. Um, unless I just saw that one clip and maybe it's practical. I don't think it is. It looked really interesting. Uh, love Michael Keaton. I think he's gonna make it really entertaining. Um, I mean, you got what Jenna Ortega in there too,
Yep.
and I feel like you got some serious
Winona
star power
Ryder,
in this movie.
Willem
So
Dafoe, Danny DeVito.
I feel like it would be a big hit, especially with some of the older crowd. I mean, my grandparents like love Beetlejuice. I mean, for some reason, whenever I went over to their house, they were like, "Oh, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice." And I'm like, "All right." So, I mean,
Gotta
I'm gonna go.
watch some Beetlejuice.
I'm gonna go see it. I'm excited. I gotta rewatch the first one, but I'm all for it. So,
Wait, so is it a thing where you say Beetlejuice like 3 times in a row?
And then he shows up.
yeah,
Oh, okay. That reminds me. I was gonna watch Fight Club this week, and I asked my dad like, because I couldn't find it on streaming. I was like, "Do we have Fight Club?" He's like, "What's Fight Club?" And I was like, "Oh, are you
Yeah.
doing the thing?" He's like, "What thing?" I'm like, like the Fight Club thing." And it was like a 2 minute conversation. He hadn't seen Fight Club or heard of it, um, which is why he
Oh,
asked. He actually didn't know what it was. And then I finally came around to it where I was like, "Oh, you actually don't know." He's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." But I just thought
that's
that was
funny.
funny. Yeah.
all right. Let's talk about Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga. Uh, the only description is an origin story for renegade warrior Furiosa before her encounter and team up with Mad Max, starring Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth, and directed and written by George Miller. Jack, you are our guest. Why don't you give your spoiler-free thoughts first?
All right, spoiler free. For me, when I watched Fury Road was awesome. Non-stop action from start to finish. But the one thing that I felt that really was missing in Fury Road for me was a pretty strong narrative and plot that continued like push it forward. And I think that Furiosa has that as you follow Furiosa throughout like the span until uh, Fury Road. The lore and the amount of like world building that's made in this movie is just ridiculous. And I think that George Miller is just like absolutely cooking here. Personally, I like this more than Fury Road, and I think that's a hot take.
I don't think so.
But I love this so much because it gave you these characters and it felt like you cared about what happened to them throughout this story as opposed to Fury Road. I feel like you like the characters, but you're never like so attached to them. But I mean, Immortan Joe, you get some more lore on him, as well as Chris Hemsworth character Dementus. You get I mean, he is fantastic. Chris Hemsworth. I think this is by far like one of his best work. I mean, Thor will forever be iconic, but I think in this role you could tell he had so much fun. So
Oh yeah,
it's a blast. I mean, Anya Taylor Joy is. I mean, I put this in my letterbox too, but when I heard she had such limited dialogue, I was initially a little skeptical about it. But then, I mean, she just absolutely kills it. So I was a huge fan of this movie. I want to go see it again. I haven't had the opportunity to go back, but you'll sit in your. I mean, if you go see this in theaters, which I highly recommend. I mean, that's the only way to see it. There's multiple shots where you sit there. I sat there and I thought to myself, like, I can't imagine watching this on a smaller screen because the scale of this movie is just too big.
no, I'm with you. I thought it was extremely well made. I think a lot of people I saw clowning on the CGI of it, and honestly, I thought that as well, just from like the clips and a little bit of trailers we got. Watching it in the finished product, I had no issues with it. I think it looked great. I think one big thing I loved in this, even more so than Fury Road, was just the difference in costuming from like the different groups that all had different outfits. I think was awesome. I loved Chris Hemsworth's performance, as you mentioned. I think this is him having so much fun, which is what he should be doing. Have fun, do weird projects, then go back to Thor, and just kind of keep that cycle going. Anya Taylor Joy, is becoming the star that I think we all thought she would be, and she is on quite a run here. I mean, even just this year, Dune Part Two in this. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, what a just back to back. And I'm very excited to kind of see where her future goes. It's a shame this movie is not doing as well at the box office as it should be, because I just wish it was. And I agree with you also about the narrative aspect. It did feel like a more structured plot in comparison to what we got with Fury Road. But I also felt like that was detriment at points because I really wanted to kind of go back to the action we got in Fury Road. I never thought it reached those heights that Fury Road offered, just because it was more focused on the narrative, so we didn't have as many action set pieces. Um, Also, a big shout out was Tom Burke, who was like her mentor. I thought he was great in that role, and that was a very like Max-esque role in this movie that I think was just really well done. Um, but yeah, that's probably it for my spoiler-free thoughts. I
I
think.
mean, shout out. I'm trying to find the actress's name
Yeah,
who played Furiosa for the little bit when she was younger.
yeah, they looked really like her.
Trying to find her.
Oh, another one that I think was great was yes. So the woman who plays Furiosa's mother is in only two main like films ever, and it was Anyone But You from last year and Furiosa from this year. And I think she was great in both. Like I thought she was so good in this movie as Furiosa's mom. Um, so I don't know. Do you want to get into spoilers? I'll get into spoilers to talk about some stuff.
Yeah, I'm totally
All right.
ready.
All right. I think I liked this less than Fury Road by not by a lot. I do think the action set pieces for me was a big one. Um, One thing I loved though was probably my favorite part of the entire movie was the set piece in the ammo town. Going through the
Mm.
gate and then chasing with the sniper, I thought that was awesome. And then kind of the next little bit of that sacrifice of watching Praetorian Jack go around and around with the dogs chasing him, and then she loses her arm. I think that was probably my favorite part, like section of the film. Um, and then I loved the choice at the end to not fully give what happened to Dementus, but kind of give it. Do you think he ended up as that tree? I don't think he did.
I hope so, because that
I
is
hope so too, but I don't think
so
he did.
sick. It's awesome. Like when they showed that on the screen, my jaw dropped. I was like,
Yeah,
I hope this is what happened because that is so cool. I
I
thought
just
that
like
was.
it's so interesting to me because I feel like it almost was a jump the shark moment, where it's like I feel like everything in this franchise is so real, but like elevated real. Obviously, there's no like
Mm.
you know there is the weird medical stuff in this franchise, but even that one to me was like a little too over the edge. But I liked it. I liked it. I just don't think that's what actually happened. I think she
I'm
just
gonna
dragged him in the desert.
I'm gonna choose to believe different, and I think that's cool though. I
Yeah,
think that
I think
it's
that's the point of
almost
that ending. Is
told
you pick
as
what
like
you want,
it's told as like a not a fable, but I mean
it's
I
like a
guess as
story,
a
yeah,
fable.
like a
Yeah,
story that gets passed down.
which I thought it was super cool that they took that direction because as they was getting towards the end, I thought the dialogue between Dementus and Furiosa was awesome. And you have that bit there where Dementus is like, "Do you have it in you to make it epic?" And I think that's like the coolest line. Like I just got like goosebumps. And that was even in the trailer, but I just
And
like
it would
wasn't
still work.
expecting that. It
Yeah,
was awesome. I mean,
I also love
I love this.
the symbolism of the teddy bear, of like that innocence
Mm.
being lost and taken away. And I think that was really strong throughout the entire film of like that teddy bear kind of showcasing that. And then at the end, it was she didn't need it anymore because like she's now this new person. Um, I loved the action set piece of with the flying parachute guys. That was great.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that it makes me appreciate Fury Road more, which I think was what they set out to do, and I think that worked really well. I did think it was
Yeah.
weird that the end of the movie was like a quick Fury Road recap instead of just kind of ending. It was like, all right, we're just gonna watch Fury Road for 2.5 minutes. But
I was vibing with it. I thought it was so
yeah, I
cool.
was like,
Like
all
I was
right.
so amped coming out of the end of that movie. And then,
Um,
well, I thought was when they have the War Boys and Dementis, and he's trying to take over the Citadel, and he's like, "Pick a War Boy," and he picks him, and then he like I think Witness Me, and like
oh,
that
it's so
whole
good.
area of this lore is just ridiculous. I mean, the fact that he's just like, "Witness Me," and then he just jumps off the edge, like for no reason at all. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
I
And
did think
I
it was
think that
kind of. I keep going.
I was just saying I think there's so much more. Like I was so happy with the narrative and how much deeper I feel like I understand this universe now, but I still feel like there's so much more that could be explored. I think a Morton Joe could fully get. It'll be interesting because I don't know if they would make an Morton Joe movie, but I want to know more about this guy. I mean,
Would
he
like to
is
see more with
insane.
Max.
No, I
I
agree.
think,
I'm with you on
yeah.
that too.
Well, because we got that. What was it? We got the tease of Max in this movie. We saw a Mad Max cameo,
Yeah,
and so I think
he's
that it'd be nice to get Max again, in some kind of, form or fashion. I wouldn't even mind if we got a Max prequel that led into the events of Fury Road, why he was kind of on the run at the end there. Um,
I'm all for it.
One thing that I don't know about, and I don't know if I like fully loved, was with the War Boys, how these War Boys felt very different from the ones in Fury Road. I don't know why. I just felt like they were just not the same kind of guys. But the one thing I also thought was interesting was I don't know if George Miller was trying to make like a political statement or anything, but I think it was funny that basically it felt like, at least to me, that Chris Hemsworth's whole idea was kind of communism, where it's like everyone gets everything shared, everyone is
Hmm.
equal, and it failed repeatedly. And then he goes to Morton Joe, who was basically a dictatorship, and it worked perfectly. Like he had people who would sacrifice themselves for him; they believed in him, and I just thought that was like a funny. I don't know, because then Furiosa at the end of Fury Road kind of does do what Dementis did, and it has this free for the people attitude. And I wonder if it would fail in the same way that it did for Dementis. But then again, she's probably a better leader than he is. But it was kind of this inner, I think it made me appreciate that more because it was like that. What he said, we're the same person. As even if you don't want to be, like we're the same. We've been forged by this wasteland. Um, but yeah, I really liked it. I think this was one of the better movies of the year. I have it, I think, at my number 3 of the year. Let me check my Letterboxd. Got my lists, and then yeah, so it's number 3 of the year. It's behind Dune Part 2 and The Fall Guy, and just ahead of
Really,
Titanic. Yeah, I
I've
I love Fall Guy.
I haven't seen it yet. I've gotten mixed reviews. I know I think it from what it looks like you're a little bit higher on it than
Than most,
I've
I
seen
would say
most
than most.
people,
Yes, I would agree.
but
Um, but no, it's number 3 on the year for me right now. Furiosa.
I haven't seen enough this year to really have a valid list, but it's number two. I've seen five movies from this year just because
You gotta get
with
those
how it
numbers.
was.
The rookie
I
numbers.
know, I know. With how it was from with how the movie theaters were over there, it was pretty tough to see some of the smaller movies. Um,
Yeah, but you got what? Dune, probably.
yeah,
Did you get
I got
Monkey Man?
Dune. No, I didn't get Monkey Man. I literally just have Dune, Furiosa, Challengers, Roadhouse, and Mean Girls. That's it. So I really got to pick it up for 2024. Monkey Man's on there for me. The Fall Guy's on there for me. There's a couple others I have that I'm looking forward to watch.
The Beekeeper, if you have a shot, I recommend that
I
one.
I had a chance to watch that on the way home on the flight, and
Yeah, dude, the Beekeeper kind of rocks.
I didn't watch it.
No,
I don't
no,
know. I'm not a big
it's
Jason
so
Statham
good.
fan. I'll give it a watch just so I can come back on here and
Yeah, then we'll need
let
your
you guys
thoughts.
know how I feel. But just kind of like how I was saying earlier, there's like so many movies I haven't seen, and I feel like I need to I want to try and crank those out. And then at one point, I might as well give some of the movies that I'm not as crazy about.
No, that makes sense for me. But yeah, hey Chuck, hopefully that made you want to go see Furiosa. I highly recommend it to anyone. I think that even if you're not the biggest fan of Mad Max, it's a good step. Even as a stepping on point to the franchise, I think it's a great kind of thing.
I'll
Yeah,
see it. I'll see it eventually this year.
I
Yeah.
think you would like Furiosa more than you would like Mad Max, because I feel like if
I
you're watching
agree,
Mad
yeah.
Max and you're saying I'm not engaged, I feel like the characters in this and the like development that you see throughout the movie is going to entertain you more than just the action from Fury Road would.
Okay.
So
I agree.
Fair enough. I did have time to watch the Beetlejuice trailer.
Cool.
So
What do you think?
I thought it was great. I haven't seen the first Beetlejuice, but like I feel like with most trailers for sequels or season 2 or subsequent seasons, it's hard for me to follow what's going on, but I didn't really struggle to follow along with this one. And it seemed like a cool story. Obviously, if I had seen the first one, I could have probably better input. But I was engaged. I was interested. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I got one last thing to add from Furiosa.
Oh yeah, drop it.
Um, I love how that the guitarist in War. I think that's the coolest thing ever. You have this guy who's suspended and just playing the guitar during battle.
Yeah.
I think
No, it's
that's
kinda
the
cool
coolest
thing.
thing ever, and I think George Miller is gonna. If they make more of these movies, I think he's gonna do everything he can to just keep like sneaking that guy in there because I think it's so cool.
I
Also,
saw that in Fury
Dementis' like
Road, and I thought
three.
it.
You
Sorry.
thought it was
Oh
stupid.
yeah,
I didn't say stupid. That's not what I was going to say. What was I going to say? I had a word. I thought it was so random. I was kind of like, what? I wasn't
It's just
super.
guys being dudes.
I wasn't as into it as I think most people. I was just like, what is going on right now? They're playing the guitar and riding through the desert and just like blowing up these random car. Like, I felt like there was no story in Fury Road. I was 40 minutes in and I still didn't really know who everyone was or like what they were doing. You know?
I understand where you're coming from, and that's why I think you'd
You're
like
allowed your opinion.
Furiosa.
Okay.
Furiosa was much more of a narrative, I would say, yes.
Okay. Cool. I like that.
Last thing I wanted to add, I've been thinking about like what to watch this upcoming week, and I think I'm going to watch Star Wars again, as in all of them.
Dude,
I know, no, I saw it on your letterbox. That kind of made me think about
this
it.
guy.
But I think I'm going to watch all Star Wars again because I've had a thought, and I don't know how much I agree with it or know about it, but I don't know if I'm a Star Wars guy, and I thought I was, and the more I think about it, the less I think that. So I want to find out. So next week I'll let you know because I
Well,
really am thinking it.
we had this conversation. We were both talking about how we didn't know if we were actual Star Wars fans, and after watching the first two, I think I'm a Star Wars fan. I was.
I'm
Pretty
gonna
into it.
rewatch. So wait, so what did you go 1, 2, or did you do 4, 5, 6, 1,
I
2?
started Phantom Menace because Phantom Menace is one of my favorites, so I was like, let's start strong. So, and then Attack
Okay.
of the Clones was a stink fest, but I'm like halfway through Revenge of the Sith right now, and
See, I'm
It
thinking
holds up
maybe I
so good.
and
should.
yummy. All I can say is yummy.
Yummy.
Yeah.
I'm really debating
Watch
whether
out for
I
the
do.
letterbox review, Jack. It's probably gonna be later today.
I'm ready. I'm amped. I will like it. No, or if it's under a certain score, I don't think I can like it, but
It's probably gonna be a four
I
and a
will
half.
respect. I will respect your opinion.
It's
Okay,
likely
well I'll
gonna
let
be
you
a
know
four and a
next week.
half.
I'll let you know
Cool.
because I really think I might not be a Star Wars guy.
You're a Glenn Powell guy.
It's
Yeah,
Can't be
I'm a
both.
Glenn Powell guy. I'm a Glenn Powell guy. I'm Superman, Spider-Man. I might not be Star Wars. So I'll find out. I really am just I was blown away by this revelation earlier this week because I was watching a video about Star Wars and I was like, this is kind of boring to me. And I was like, do I not like Star Wars? And it. Yeah, I had that moment where I was like, am I not a Star Wars? So I got to find out. So that's my quest.
messed up. Get rid of that Yoda Lego set I see in the back. Get rid of it. Throw it away.
Don't look.
You
Yeah,
don't.
don't look at the Boba
You
Fett
don't
head.
deserve it.
I know. There's the Millennium Falcon right there.
I see R2D2 as well.
Yeah, R2.
A
Then I got
stormtrooper.
Grogu. There's an AT-AT.
Boba Fett. Jesus, you have a lot back there.
I know. Well, I put everything on one wall, so I have it all. But yeah,
Nice.
I think that's is that about it? Anything else for anybody? No. All right, cool. Well, Jack, thank you for joining us talking about Furiosa. Really appreciate it. We'll have you on very, very soon. And I guess, as always, for Jack and Charles, I'm Hunter, and thanks for listening. Sweet. All right, done recording. Thanks for coming on, man. That was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Shoot. Do I just stop the recording?